boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of how I screwed that up. Hey, so did you notice the changes in this build than I did the other build? Yeah, I got myself a what do they call it? Scaffolding, moving scaffolding. Yeah, I went over to Harbor Freight, and this is a lot of wall to cut out. So as you know, in the last episode, I'm kind of going back and forth on this whole warping, welding and using a plasma cutter kind of idea. So I decided that this time, instead of using the plasma cutter, I just thought I'd experiment on this wall here and see what happens on the grinder, on an angle grinder. And I thought, that's the last thing I want to do, is spend a couple days using a 4.5 inch angle grinder, and those little wheels, they just, if you twist them just right, they shred in a million pieces. So you go through a ton of those. So guess what I bought? I bought me a 7-inch angle grinder. I tell you what, those little 4.5 inch angle grinders are pretty nice when you're maneuvering around small places, but the 4.5 inches is so small that you can't really get into the corners as well. This here, you can really get into the corners because you got a bigger space. And I'll tell you what, it just eats up metal really quick. So I hate to say this, I really do. Hate to say this, I love my plasma cutter. But the problem with my plasma cutter is I have to have an air compressor, right? And you have to have 220. Well, right over here I've got my power pole, but those plugs for my plasma cutter are hard to find. They're 50 amp,
I didn't get that.
3-prong. Oh, shut up. 3-prong, kind of weird locking deal, and I have a hard time finding that. And so I just didn't want to fuss with my plasma cutter this time. So what I did is I went for $75 at Harbor Freight. That's what I went to Harbor Freight for, is to pick up the angle. And then I saw this scaffolding, and I thought, oh my, I gotta have that. The scaffolding was about $200. But the thing is, when you're dealing with this 9-foot ceiling, is it 9 foot, 8 foot, 9? Yeah, it's 9 foot, I guess. Your arms are just not long enough, even if you're 6 foot tall. So it makes when I was building out first phase 1, I needed to grind the top bar, right? And that little grinder with this ladders, messing around with ladders. So anyway, we're gonna get serious on this build. So the other thing I liked about this 7-inch is I'm almost done. Within an hour and a half, I have pretty much cut out half, if not 3/4 of this whole wall. All I have to do is the top there, and then finish the sides. And what I did was, instead of just cutting the whole doggone wall out at one time, I chopped it up into sections. There's weld marks as you go down the ribs of the wall. They're weld marks. So I just said, well, I'll take out these 2 panels, and I'll leave this panel up, and the reason why I'm leaving a couple of the panels on is because I don't want that top rail to warp and bend and bow. I'm hoping that if I keep a couple of these panels in there, I don't have to weld in support yet. I want to wait until I get the other container on. I'm going to put a big I-beam down the middle of it and support the span that way. But in the meantime, I wanted a temporary, and I didn't want to go and cut some 2x2 square tubing and put it in there, because I didn't want to waste tubing. Metal's expensive like anything else, And my tubing comes in 24-foot lengths. I just didn't want to cut a 9-foot out of it, a couple 9 welded in there and mess with it. And why not? Just keep a couple of panels to support, keep the thing square. But I did notice one thing. Remember on my last episode, I told you the one pillar support here there was a gap there. I didn't think this thing would dip, but as I started cutting out the panels, I noticed the container starting to do this. So before I cut anything more out, I'm gonna go in and I did weld the box onto the pedestals, the things, but I didn't do that one support. So I'm gonna go back and do that, and I'm gonna probably jack it up a little bit and put some spacers and weld it in, and I'll be done, and I can finish the rest of it. So anyway, I highly recommend, if you guys are gonna get serious about it, buy the right tools. I don't care about the brand. I just went to Harbor Freight and got it. You can go to Home Depot and get a Bosch or something, I don't know. Get yourself a 7-inch. While you're at it, go get a scaffolding. And I'm sure you can buy them cheaper on Facebook Marketplace. But anyway, ciao for now.